Hi. Every now and then, after you have sleuthed a company, it may still come down to the question of whether you can trust the CEO. It's not just whether he or she is a good leader. Rather, it's whether he or she can execute. How to find out? Sure, you can talk to those with whom he had worked before to find out if he was successful. But there's still the question of will he succeed again in this job too? There are two main ways to check. The first is to test whether this leader can energize and inspire others. I'll leave this for another clip, and I'll give you a basic tutorial in rhetoric and how to recognize it in leaders, perhaps even how to learn to do it yourself. But today I want to focus on the other way. This is whether the leader really understands strategy and can perform the hardest part of it. Now, what is strategy? It is the art of getting a result through people and resources, acting against opposition. But surely you may say, strategy is not the same in business or in politics or military. Yes, it is. All strategy in any domain has the same three key elements. And these are focus, paying the price of focus, and execution. To verify that a leader is truly good, you must be sure he can understand and do all three. First, he or she must define exactly the goal he wants to achieve and specify why it is important. So important that enabling him to demand others to sacrifice for it. Second, he must focus on the goal and sacrifice himself by cutting away at anything peripheral to the main goal and pay the price for doing so. And this price sometimes can be high. Third, he must throw himself bodily and soul into achieving the goal. Sound simple? You'll be surprised how hard it is to do, especially the second part of paying the price. Now, how can you evaluate a leader's chance of success? Up front, you must first of all evaluate his or her goal, the vision. The bigger the vision, the more important, the easier it is to get others to be inspired by it and then to ask them to sacrifice for it. Steve Jobs dreamed of putting a personal, cheap computer on every desk. Ford wanted to give every family a car. Amazon wanted to conquer the world of commerce via the internet. All three had opposition and difficulties, yet they succeeded because, first of all, their big vision and their own ability moved the troops. The same goes for politics, by the way. Remember Trump? Yes, he's an unpleasant human being, but his vision was a winner. Why? Because it was more than just benefit to an individual, but rather, allegedly, benefit for the nation, for everybody, for America. America, said Trump, has become weak, so let's make it great again. Whether you consider this hokey or great is immaterial, but the vision caught the imagination of enough Americans to make him president. On the other side, Hillary Clinton's vision seemed to be because it's women's turn, and I'm a woman, so it's my turn. It's a fine vision, but not as catchy, and so she lost. But before we proceed, I can hear you saying, how can a leader's understanding of strategy make me money? Like this, you can bet not just on stocks, but also on elections. In 2016, I had bet on Trump winning the US elections due to his vision, ignoring his personality. The win at the time was 6-1. Well, there's another Trump rising, but in France this time. His name is Eric Zemmour. Zemmour is a journalist and a book writer, but he's also a master rhetorician and an expert debater. What's his vision? It is this: French culture, indeed French civilization, is facing a danger of death due to Muslim immigration. Whether you agree with him or not, it's immaterial, but this theme has caught the imagination of a very large part of the French populace, and by the polls, it's likely that Zemmour will face France president in the April election in the second round. How does the current president counter Zemmour's vision? Up to now, he hasn't. He only sniped from the sideline with details. Therefore, in my opinion, Eric Zemmour passes the first test of strategy, the fine and clear, catchy, high-level goal to capture the heart of your audience, the heart, mind you, not the minds. One goal worthy enough to sacrifice for. Based on this alone, Eric Zemmour would be worthy of consideration of a political bet. But there's more. There's also the second test of strategy, and that is, after you focus on your goal, you must cut ruthlessly anything that detracts from achieving the main goal and pay the price of this cutting. It's not as easy as you may think. For example, General Dwight Eisenhower, who in World War II beat the Nazis, got to become top general after General George Marshall, who was the Minister of Defense, gave him a famous test. If the Philippines, said Marshall, ask for your help against the Japanese, who are about to invade them and do them horrible things, would you send in a brigade or two to save them from slaughter and rape? No, said Eisenhower. I tell them to do what they can, but my job is to finish off the Germans, and I need every man for this worthy goal. Sorry. But would you pay for your victory with Philippine atrocities? Yes, I would, said Ike. Winning against Germany is the first and only goal. When Marshall heard this, he knew he had his top leader, because the leader must be able to focus on the goal and pay the price of focusing, as awful as this price often is. It's the same with Zemmour. Zemmour promised he stopped all immigrations the day he was elected. No one will come innocent. No one. But he was asked, what about starving Africans? They can die if you won't let them in. Well, he said, I let them die, rather than let France die, rather than let French civilization die, because for me, French civilization comes first. Was he heartless? Yes. Cruel? Yes. But so was Eisenhower when he refused to help the Philippines to focus on beating the Nazis. Now, not that there's any comparison between Nazis and Muslim immigrants, but the principle is the same. What is your goal? Define it. Then, can you cut away everything that's in the way and pay the price, even if the price is high? Yes. Zemmour was, of course, criticized for his response, criticized heavily, but he did not flinch, which proved that, whether good or bad, he has the true quality of a successful leader, one that cuts away at all side goals and pays the price for the cutting. What makes this especially hard to do, besides having to stand up to public criticism, is this. You pay the price first and get the goal only later. Price first, prize later. How many can do it? Not many. So when you talk to CEOs, try to evaluate their success chances by paying the price of sticking to the goal. That's what you should be looking for. A CEO who is willing to close the division and lay off 1,000 so as to save the jobs of 5,000 and maybe save the company. Or willingness to write off old, revered product line that drain attention from the new promising product. Or be willing to do and say the politically incorrect thing if in the CEO's opinion is the only thing to save the company or the country. So once again, how can you make money on this? You can, because in France, that's exactly what Zemmour is doing. He declared a lofty goal to preserve France's culture and identity and said he's willing to take the harsh life and death decision and make them for this sake. He can, of course, be wrong. And then the majority of French citizens will not vote for him. But I think that the likelihood that they will vote is rising daily. Now, how can this be converted into profit? Well, the betting channel predicted.com gives Zemmour about 1 to 5 odds to win. That is, you pay 18 cents, which already is up from 15, and if he wins on April 2022, 5 months from now, you'll get $1, or more than 500% return. 400% return. Of course, if he loses, you lose it all, or minus 100% return. Now mind, this is not a recommendation to gamble on Zemmour. I'm just pointing this out as an example of how to gauge the mettle of a leader by testing whether he or she understands the key point of strategy, which Zemmour apparently clearly does. Now, did I gamble on him? Unfortunately, as a Canadian, I cannot. Predictit.com won't take Canadian bets. I'll follow up with a clip. In a follow-up clip, I'll describe how to estimate a leader's ability to inspire and motivate. That's a 2,000-year-old art called rhetoric, which you may also use yourself if you want to inspire others. That's all for today. I hope you'll find the above useful for your investing. And if you like it, give it a like, subscribe, tell all your friends so they subscribe too. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching.